Reminded in today's gospel reading of the most important commandment, to love God with all our heart, with all our strength and all our might, and secondly, to love our neighbor as ourselves. And I think the question we ought to ponder for ourselves is, what does this love entail? What does it consist of? And am I, in my own life, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing in order to be loving God wholeheartedly? In other words, am I manifesting that love in my life as I should? And I think if we ponder this question, most of us realize that we fall short. Perhaps we fall very short. The reality is, no matter how great our love of God and neighbor is, we can always grow in it. So we are all deficient to some degree. Perhaps another way of stating this love of God and love of neighbor is kind of, I often refer to romantic love. Imagine a young couple who are madly in love. So the ideal is that we fall madly in love with God. This is the ideal. And another, or the secondary aspect of that is, imagine falling madly in love with your neighbor, not in a romantic sense, but loving your neighbor like so much that you'd be willing to sacrifice your life for them, as often young couples are willing to do for each other when they're madly in love. Now notice when young couples are madly in love, those of you who've experienced that, you know that when people are madly in love, it's easier for them to be kind, to be generous, to be self-sacrificing, to be forgiving of faults and offenses. In other words, it just makes it so much easier to have a healthy relationship. And this is the ideal that we should be striving for. So when we are madly in love with God, and secondarily with our neighbor, it makes it so much easier for us to do all the things that we need to do and to act appropriately. So if we truly love, then we automatically obey all the other commandments. That's another way of stating it. And this is the ideal. So the question is, well, how do we grow in our love of God? How do we fall in love with God? And one of the first things is that you have to have this desire to want to fall in love with God. And many people don't. Even many practicing Catholics, they just see God as an important aspect of their life. And yes, it's maybe one of the most important aspects of their life, but they're not really in love with God. Yes, they go to church. Yes, they say their prayers, but they're just doing it because they know they have to. But they're not really in love with God. So how do you fall in love with God? You have to desire it. Well, what if I don't have a desire to want to fall in love with God? Well, ask for that desire. Ask God to help you to have that desire. So once you have that desire, ask God to help you to fulfill that desire, to fall in love with Him. So we ask God, and God helps us. And when we think of young people, the reality is that young people have a desire to want to fall in love. They're created for love, and they think, okay, it's natural to want to get married and to find a suitable, spouse or somebody that they could, share their life with. They have this natural desire, and that natural desire actually inclines them to look for a suitable person that they could fall in love with. And because they want to fall in love with, it actually makes it easier for them to fall in love with that person. But when they encounter someone that they might be attracted to, we know there's a lot more to it. In other words, they need to develop a relationship. They need to get to know each other. They need to discern whether they are compatible with each other or not. And when it comes to God, something similar has to happen. We need to develop a relationship. And this relationship we develop not just by prayer in general, but personal prayer, in other words, praying from the heart, speaking to God from the heart, but also getting to know what God is like. How do we get to know what God is like? Well, partially through prayer, God reveals Himself to us, but also through Scripture. In other words, God is revealed in Scripture, especially in the New Testament, especially in the Gospels. We meditate on Christ, what He is like, and He is the true image of the Father. As He says, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. So in other words, if we want to fall in love, we must desire it. We must ask God to help us to fall in love with him. We need to spend quality time with God on a regular basis, ideally a daily basis, speaking to him from the heart. In other words, having quality prayer time, not just rattling off our prayers. And thirdly, we need to get to know God. We do that partially through our prayer, but also through Scripture. Now, a person who's in love with God, just like a young couple, once they fall in love, they want to spend more time with each other. They wish they could spend all their time together before they're married, let's just say. Okay, so a person who's in love with God, they want to read Scripture. They want to fulfill their prayer obligations. In other words, it's not a burden to them to go to prayer. It's not a burden to them to pick up the Scriptures and to read from the Scriptures. They desire to do it. They want to do it. They may even want to mortify themselves. In other words, if their worldly inclinations are keeping them from God, they will do their utmost to mortify themselves. And we see this in the lives of the saints. The saints were madly in love with God. And the saints, in many ways, were madly in love with other human beings also. And that's why they were so generous in being at the service of others. So this is what we are called to do. And like I said, we need to examine our own lives. Number one, do we really love God first and foremost with all our might, all our heart, all our strength? Is he like the number one preoccupation of our lives? Or is he just one of those other things that we just check off on our list of things to do? So, and what, we need to consider, we need to ponder on the things that I just spoke about, how do I manifest my love of God in my day-to-day life? And, secondarily, how do I manifest my love of neighbor? Because if we love God, we will want to please God, and what pleases him is loving our neighbor as ourselves. So we can clearly discern the extent to which we love God and whether we need to improve something in our lives or not. So I encourage you to do that, and I encourage you to fall in love with God, because it is the thing that is most beneficial for us, the most pleasing, the most fulfilling. It's the thing that will benefit us more than anything else for this life and for all eternity.